We are back. Episode 5 of Coffee with the Coaches. I am Coach Brad Dunn, joined by
I am John Duncan.
John Duncan. We're getting our intros better, and got a great guest this week. We've got Keith Crawford, the head coach at Rose-Hulman out in Indiana. Great friend of ours. Keith, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. How has been your experience so far with kind of quarantine and being separate from campus and your team?
Well, it's just kind of been one of those where it's definitely something that we've never seen before, and spending a lot more time at home with my wife and 15-month-old daughter, and just trying to be here as much as you can for a resource for our current student athletes, and then working on finishing up recruiting with current seniors, and getting the ball rolling with current juniors. At this time of the year, a lot of what we need to do can be done from the confines of your own house. So it's kind of been one of those things where we're making do, but it's a different world.
Yeah, definitely. So our show is called Coffee with the Coaches. So I've got my fancy mug here from the British Museum, drinking some decaf Nespresso today. John, what did you bring along?
Brad, we have a local coffee shop here in town. It's called Lamppost Coffee. It opened up, I want to say, in November, December. So we're trying to be supportive and help our local shops and businesses around town. So, Keith, very excited you're on our show. I'm glad you're doing well.
Wait. We need to know, what did Keith bring to drink?
Keith,
I brought Diet Coke.
A Diet Coke.
We're never going to get somebody to drink coffee. We had both our guests bring tea and now Diet Coke. Someday, I want to have somebody drink coffee. But John, go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Okay.
You got it first.
Well, Keith, like I said, I'm excited you're on the show. I'm glad you're doing well. As a lot of you do not know, Keith and I went to the same high school. We were high school teammates. Keith was a year older than me. But Keith, you have a unique background. First off, let's just kind of talk about where you went to school, college, and what sports you participated in, and then how you got into coaching.
Okay, well, as you said, you and I were junior high and high school teammates, in high school we both went to Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis. In addition to swimming, I also ran cross country and track. Was a distance runner in track. After my high school days were done, continued on to Xavier University, and while I was there, competed in cross country and track. Still stayed involved in the sport of swimming. Did some summer coaching, and then after I graduated from college, was a graduate assistant swim coach for 2 years at DePaul University, and after I did that, went out to Monmouth College in Illinois, started a program from scratch, was out there for 5 years before coming to Rose-Hulman in the fall of 2008, and I'm just finishing up my 12th year here.
Awesome.
Been an outstanding career so far, Keith, and you've done some amazing jobs building Monmouth, and just a fantastic job at Rose-Hulman. So kudos to you there, and hopefully things are going well right now in the recruiting as we're all being affected. Well, Brad, you go ahead and give Keith the next question here.
Yeah, something that kind of both of us have in common there, with you being out there and at Monmouth and starting the program there, being the first coach and getting things rolling. And it's a similar experience of what I had the opportunity to do here at Lynchburg, starting things up, getting here in the summer of 2018, and then having this 19-20 season be our first season, and now my year 3 coming up and year 2 of the program. So, in this time period, what did you kind of find to be what you enjoyed most about starting a program, but also what did you find to be the biggest challenge, Keith?
The exciting thing about starting a program is you're not picking up a situation where they're talking about, well, under the previous coach, we did this. It's like you've got one vision, and that's kind of the way it is. So that's definitely been something that was a major positive, because when you move into, even though I stepped into a good situation at Rose-Hulman, it was still one where it almost can take you 3 or 4 years until you get to a situation where nobody else has competed at the college level for anyone else other than yourself before you have things pretty much the way that you want to. So I would say that's probably the biggest perk of startup. In terms of challenges, I would say one of the biggest challenges is you start off with one class of recruited swimmers. I mean, you may be fortunate, depending on where you're at, that you have some people kind of lying around campus who may be able to help you. I wasn't so fortunate at Monmouth. I mean, we were basically green with all freshmen. So what I really found was, we were reasonably competitive. We finished 4th at the conference meet on the men's side my first year there, but it was year 3 of actually having a team. That's where I feel like you can take a quantum leap a lot of places. We went from we had been 5th the previous year all the way to 2nd, and went into the meet with a goal of winning the meet. So,
Keith, if I was a junior right now, soon to be senior, and I was looking at maybe engineering, why Rose-Hulman? Can you give me a recruiting pitch of why Rose-Hulman?
And John's coming in here to steal recruiting secrets. You don't have engineering down there.
All right.
Stealing secrets.
Well,
he's got a few Texas guys up there, Brad.
Texas has been good to us.
That's been good.
We are the number 1 rated engineering school, undergraduate engineering school in the country. So that's the number 1 hook that I throw out there at our recruits who may know little or nothing about us. There have been many a times where I'm making a cold call to a recruit on the phone who they don't know I'm going to call or get that first email from you. And when you put out, you can tell a kid, we're the best at what we do in the entire country, that's going to get a lot of people's attention. We also have a strong, flexible swimming program as well. On the men's side, we've been conference champions 3 out of the last 6 years, and we've also had a presence at national championships as well. And our women's team has been 2nd at our conference meet 2 out of the last 3 years. I really feel like when you want engineering, you want small, and you want a place that you can swim at, we're as good or better than anybody in the entire country for that combination.
That's awesome. What a great resource to have and great experience.
Very good.
I know that especially too the chances that we had to be kind of around the team, around the program, just the elite, not only swimmers that you have, but students and people, and able to build that culture and all of that in there, which has been a big part of the goal setting that kind of I had in our first year, with establishing a culture and then setting these goals of, individual national qualifiers and individual placings at conference, and kind of, I think one of the things I found starting a program was you have a very great set of goals and benchmarks to hit as you climb up. Where you're at, though, you've had national qualifiers and you've swam at that meet, and you have conference championships, and you've done a lot of those things that kind of I see as visions and goals of our program. How do you kind of reassess year to year and set forth really ambitious goals, and how do you decide what's next?
I think what you're always looking for is, we're starting from the building block of we're trying to bring good people into our program. I think when that's something that's essential, that goes a lot to make sure that you're going down the right road. I think for most of our swimmers, our goals are going to be conference level goals. On the men's side, our goal, our number one team goal will probably always be to win our conference championship meet. And then in addition to that, we've got goals such as school records, qualifying swimmers for the NCAA meet, and then once you get to the NCAA meet, then you talk about, well, what do we want to do once we get there?
Like Keith, if I again going back to a junior and a senior here in high school, what type of practices are going on at Rose-Hulman? Are you more of a mid-distance program or a distance sprint-oriented program, or is there multiple groups going on during your practices?
Once we get past the first 2 to 3 weeks, of our season, we're typically breaking down into 2 or 3 groups at practice most days, with those being some combination of sprint, middle distance, and distance, or maybe sprint, middle distance, and IM. I'm much more concerned with what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I'm a coach who will probably err on the side of doing a little bit less in terms of volume in order to do more in terms of race pace type swimming, or swim more stuff in your primary strokes or strokes, as opposed to just grinding out yard upon yard of aerobic freestyle. To kind of extend on that a little bit more, with us being 100% STEM, I feel like we have to concentrate on training smarter rather than harder, and more isn't always necessarily better.
Awesome. I think that's something that John and I spend a lot of time working with, and getting that quality and that engagement out of our practices, and love learning those trends across the country of different programs and coaches. We are getting kind of close to our 15 minutes, so kind of the last question that I have before we get to our very last question, but one of the things that we're all celebrating right now is it's D3 week, and for you all that are watching, it's a chance to kind of highlight the great parts of Division III athletics and the Division III experience. And it's one of the things that I was a Division III athlete at Mary Washington, and have chosen a coaching career in Division III for lots of reasons that hopefully get to talk about here soon. But I really want to talk to you guys both. John, this is for you as well, where Keith, you were an athlete at Xavier, and John, you were an athlete at Purdue, both great Division I colleges and universities. What has your experience been like going from a Division I athlete to being a Division III coach? Maybe Keith, you can start, and then John, you answer that after that.
Well, for me, when people talk about the difference of Division I, Division II, Division III, even though I was a Division I student athlete, Xavier's a small private school. So I really feel like the principles of what we were about and the way the program was ran was really much more similar to what a Division III, model and concept would be like than what it is different. So I guess it's regardless of where we were at, I kind of felt like there was no question what your priorities were. It was academics. So again, to kind of be redundant, I really feel like things are much more similar than they are different.
Awesome. John, what about you?
And Brad, another fun fact about Keith and I. Keith was a GA at DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana, and I followed Keith. He was the one that gave me a good a reference, and I took the job at DePaul, and that's kind of where I got started in Division III coaching. But what I noticed coming from Purdue and then going into DePaul for Division III was more centered around the student. Even though Purdue was a great school and I had a great experience there, but it just seemed to be the Division III model was more about the student athlete, and just the opportunities that the student athletes get as far as internships and resources, joining clubs. I guess being involved in the campus and the community. And that's kind of what I've been preaching ever since is getting involved. But there is some good things about Division III and Division I. I think being a student athlete, over around it is hard and difficult, but there's something special about a Division III athlete.
Yeah, definitely agree. And been kind of doing some stuff with our social media, highlighting bits, and that was kind of my message too, is that you get to excel in all areas of your life, and you have an opportunity to really grow as a person, but not really lose out on the athletic experience either. And definitely lots of benefits to that. So hopefully we kind of keep that conversation as we go through the week. But we are about out of time. So Keith, our last question to all of our guests, looking at different things, and the kind of the aura that is Coach Crawford. That when you step on deck, what movie character would you say that Coach Crawford relates most to?
I'm going to go with Herb Brooks from the movie Miracle, and I just think back to having the vision to do something that a lot of people probably didn't even think was possible. With your program, prior to me coming to Rose-Hulman, we had a strong swimming program. But to think that we could win a conference like the CCIW, I don't think anyone ever thought, or that there weren't a whole bunch of people who thought that was possible. Beginning, we went on a run where we were fourth at the conference championship meet, and then third, and then second, and then we were 2 years in a row. We won the conference meeting. So it's just kind of the vision to build something up and take it to the championship level. So.
Awesome. That's a great one. You guys pulling out really legendary coaches, and I went with Han Solo. So it's a little you got the veteran coaches making me look like a rookie. But this was great, and we're about out of time here. So I really appreciate you being on, Keith. And about 10 seconds, you got a final word or anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
Well, thanks for having me, and it was good catching up with you guys. And good luck finishing up on your recruiting. And hopefully, I will see you guys at NCAAs next year out in the great state of Washington, right? Federal Way?
I hope so. Yeah.
Plan. So, well, good. Well, I appreciate everybody watching. Keith, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see everybody later.
See you later.
Bye, guys. Stay safe.